We are travelling upstream along the Tigris River, through the Kurdish heartland of southeast Turkey, to a place once described as a town of cave dwellers, the ancient city of Hassan Keyf.
لکاتی آشوری دا ناوی هاتوه حسن دا کیفا لکاتی رومان دا بناوی کیفاس ناوی هاتوه بعربی دلین حسن کیفا یا قلعة رأس الغول.
Descending gradually into the Tigris Valley, with Hassan Keyf lying 10 kilometers south, we stop to explore the first of the once inhabited rock caves. Continuing to follow the path of the Tigris River as it winds its way slowly through the Mesopotamian plain, we are awarded our first glimpse of the ancient city of Hassan Keyf, majestically overlooking the Tigris as it has for thousands of years. Hassan Keyf lies 35 kilometers south of Batman and 135 kilometers southeast of Diyarbakir. It is believed to be one of the oldest continuously inhabited settlements in the world. Inhabited for 6,000 years, with roots stretching as far back as 12,000 years, Hassan Keyf has been home to 9 major civilizations. Here, the world of the Middle East met the civilization of Anatolia and precipitated a flourishing of cultures that survive today in countless ruins.
قسطنطین یک گوره لقرن 4 میلادی دا که ترسانکی لگمی لبلم درست کرد لدیاربکر بو اوی لوی و هجومی بین سر دولتی ساسانی لعراق ایتر ام قلایا زور لسر ریگه بوا لناحیه زور استراتیجی بوا كوتوة سر روباري دجلة اهتمامي بيدايا أغسطوسي كوريجي كبو بإمبراطور تعميري كردوا.
Today, just 3,800 people remain in the town. In past days, Hassan Keyf prospered as a strategic point along the Silk Road. Marco Polo likely crossed the Tigris here on his way to China. Once an important centre for manufacturing cloths, porcelain and pottery, here modern life intertwines with the remains of past civilizations. The minaret of the Al-Rizq Mosque, built in 1409 by the Ayyubid Sultan Suleiman, rises high above the modern town, as if to remind us that it was here first. Until 40 years ago, people inhabited the cave dwellings. Today, most of the caves lie empty, eyes in the rock that stare unblinkingly at the new town. According to the locals, the Turkish Prime Minister in the 1970s decided cave dwellings did not befit a modern country and forced the population to move. We begin to ascend the path to the castle, which originally passed through 7 defensive gates. Now only 3 remain. More than 4,000 caves can be found on both sides of the Tigris River, carved into the living rock with exceptional attention. Lying next to each other, some with wooden doors for additional protection against the wind and rain, the cave dwellings would have provided a cool and welcome respite from the heat of long summer days and a warm space for families during bitter, uncaring winters. The caves have preserved their original shapes at the time of construction, with the spaces inside divided into sections for different domestic functions, ledges cut into the cave walls, and holes for light and ventilation. Days could be spent exploring these caves, each designed according to the whims of the original inhabitants. After school, Kurdish children sell brochures, guide tourists through the honeycomb of caves, and tell stories about the ancient civilizations that their parents once told them. A tea shop in a cave serves tired tourists who have made the long journey into this neglected Kurdish region. As tourists ascend higher, they encounter a timeless ensemble of cave upon cave. They walk in the footsteps of peoples from past civilizations, treading on layer upon layer of history. The Assyrians, Byzantines, Sassanids, Umayyads, Abbasids, Hamdanis, Ayyubids, Seljuks and Ottomans have all called Hassan Keyf home and fought to save it from invasion. Its secure position enabled the Romans to resist attacks by the Sassanids for 2 years at the beginning of the 7th century. A coin issuing house was built during the Otaki era, and great interest was shown in cultural, social and economical activities. Until the beginning of the 20th century, it was a center of science and culture. In the 16th and 17th century, the great Kurdish poet Sheikh Ahmed al-Jaziri made a home here for a while. Scientists, astrologers, inventors, historians, writers, poets and painters have all resided in Hassan Keyf, drawing inspiration from its living history. The succession of different civilizations also meant Hassan Keyf was a cradle for various religions. Traces of Mithraism, a worldwide Roman religion that some experts have suggested is the forerunner to the Yazidi Kurds, have been found here. Experts have identified rock carvings with symbols of bulls and peacocks, important signs in Mithraism. There is a rich and long history of Christianity in Hassan Keyf, with well-known Christian figures residing here. While visitors and archaeologists may have to dig deeper to find traces of these religions, the influence of Islam is visible to the naked eye. Mosques, minarets, Islamic gates, and Islamic calligraphy are living evidence of Islam's more recent influence over Hassan Keyf and the surrounding area. Approach from the path. This castle is called the Small Palace, built in 1328 by the Ayyubid Musarruddin Muhammad. Once covered with gold lettering, the palace features a room whose vault is made of clay jars cemented together. A relief depicting two lions with Kufic tablets between them can be seen above the window on the north facade. Looking through the windows onto the Tigris River below, it is easy to understand why the Kurdish chiefs living there felt proud and secure, perched high, far above the workers in the valleys below. Today is a national holiday. If Hassan Keyf was situated elsewhere, it would be flooded with tourists, a wonder of the ancient world, an open-air museum. Hassan Keyf has sometimes been compared to the ancient Greek city of Ephesus, one of Turkey's major tourist attractions. Yet nothing has been done to develop tourist infrastructure in the region. The once inhabited caves are crumbling. Rocks, dust and soil moving in with the residents' departures. In spite of the rich treasures waiting to be discovered, minimal exploration and excavation has been undertaken, and the ancient relics are in urgent need of protection and restoration. Three ruined pillars rise eerily from the flowing Tigris, a stark contrast to the new bridge behind, lying in their shadow. Built by the ruler of the Artukid dynasty in 1116, the bridge continues to astonish historians. Its unique architectural design, with a roadway carried across the central span of the bridge on a timber arch, could be cut in times of siege, rendering the city inaccessible to the enemy. On the first and second bases of the bridge, a carving of a Furthian king can be found, with long ribbons flowing from his hat. A similar carving was discovered by the great Kurdish martyr Harib Haladini in the Piramigrum mountain near Soleimani in the Kurdish region of Iraq.
گبریل 1932 دا 4 رسم لسر پردی حسن کیف دوزی و وینه میترا هیا میترا الهی مساوات بوا یا عدل بوا الهی آسمان مسیطر لسر تیروج روش رسم اناهیتا هاتوا اناهیتا خوشکی میترایا هندک دلین خوشکی میترایا ل خداوندی آوا خداوندی زوزه کردنا پارزگار جنی آوسا و نه یکی دیگه لسر پیاوک دمو چاوی تا نیوی دا پوش راوه ریشوی کلاوکی بسر دمو چاوی هاتیه تا نیوی زیادتر ممکنه دا پوشی و او برأی من او همسری گریف اف کلمه یا لمیترایی روش آوادا هر بناوه کلمه کریوی کردی آری هاتوه که استه کریو همو کردستان باکور معلومه لناو ازیدیا دلی فلان کس کریوه منه یعنی دوست منه.
Hassan Keyf can lay claim to 83 archaeological sites. As we scan the landscape, the ancient ruins of Hassan Keyf surround us. Dominating the cliff top is Hassan Keyf's citadel, a complex of hundreds of residences, the small and grand palaces, and the Ulu Mosque. Built by the Byzantines in 363 AD, entirely from natural stone, its secure position made it one of the most important settlements of the region. During Artikid and Ayyubid times, spring water was piped into the citadel. The Grand Palace, to the north of the citadel, was probably built by the Artikids, a rectangular tower standing opposite its entrance. Today, most of the palace has collapsed or subsided. A graveyard within the citadel preserves Arabic writings on the gravestones. The cupolas of Sheikh Mohammed and Sheikh Sharafuddin are graves of these two famous religious personalities, one-time residents of Hassan Keyf. The Great Ulu Mosque of Hassan Keyf was built in the area of the castle in 1325 AD by the Ayyubid leader Musruddin Muhammad, and it still rises from the ruins of the city. It was built over the remains of a church. This 16th century Ottoman hammam, or Turkish bath, is the only remaining, sitting alone on the east bank of the Tigris. The 15th century mausoleum of Zainul Bey, built by Sultan Hassan during his short rule in remembrance of his son. It is intricately decorated with glazed tiles in turquoise and dark blue, and has an epitaph to Zainul Bey, as well as inscriptions to Allah, Muhammad and Ali. One of many structures in Hassan Keyf, without any indication of its function or date of construction. This appears to have functioned as some sort of irrigation system and water storage. We are standing in the midst of thousands of years of history, surrounded by traces of 9 major civilizations. But who has heard of Hassan Keyf? What is to be the future of its timeless beauty? With little development in the town, with the ruins crumbling day by day, with precious monuments of past civilizations falling into disrepair, who has control over its future, its destiny? It was the flowing waters of the Tigris which attracted the first settlers to Hassan Keyf and retained life here over thousands and thousands of years. Yet today, ironically, with the help of modern technology, it is the same water that could drown Hassan Keyf. For this ancient city is under threat. Since the 1950s, the Turkish government has been developing plans to build a dam in the village of Ilusu, 80 kilometers from Hassan Keyf, that would flood the modern town and ancient city, as well as almost 200 villages situated along the banks of the Tigris. We watched this woman from below, the only inhabitant we could find in the 4,000 caves. She refused to abandon her home and moved to the new town, which the other inhabitants were forced to do 40 years ago. Perhaps she has decided to die here, amidst the echoes from her past, amidst the ghosts of past civilizations. What will become of this woman and the tens of thousands of other people who will be displaced if the dam is built in this already impoverished corner of southeast Turkey? The dam is one of 22 being built as part of the Turkish Gap Regeneration Project and would be the second largest in Turkey in terms of volume of water. The Turkish government argues it will help modernize Turkey's poorest region, bringing development and stability, providing much needed hydroelectric energy, and creating numerous jobs. Yet at what cost does this so-called modernity come? NGOs and campaigners, in Turkey and abroad, argue this modernity comes at the expense of the local population, precious cultural resources, and the environment. The dam will also increase Turkey's political leverage over water-dependent Iraq and Syria downstream, who have not been consulted over the dam's construction. With the future of Hassan Keyf so uncertain, It is hardly surprising that no one is willing to invest in the area. Its vulnerability prompted the World Monuments Fund to add the city to the 2008 watch list of the 100 most endangered sites in the world. Yet Turkey, with plans to build a dam being developed over the past 50 years, has never applied to UNESCO to designate Hassan Keyf a site of world importance, and shows little interest in a city whose ancestry is not considered Turkish. Yet will Turkey succeed? Certain EU countries have recently challenged the project due to environmental and cultural concerns. At the end of 2008, Austria, Germany and Switzerland all suspended their support. Turkey, however, remains undeterred and determined to push forward. Dam building is a more lucrative investment than preservation of cultural artifacts. Civilization after civilization grew in Hassan Keyf. Each tried to conquer the previous one. None quite managed to wipe out the traces that the last left behind. The dam might have a lifespan of 50 years, a blink of an eye in the long history of Hassan Keyf. It might create 50 years of reusable energy, yet submerge forever thousands of years of civilization. What will be the future of Hassan Keyf? Is all of this beauty destined to become a lost city, a surreal underwater world?